Hey guys, Jack and welcome back to our video. Tottenham are still unbeaten, Arsenal put 5 past Sheffield United, Aston Villa are still in great form, and towards the end of it, Manchester is blue. Let's talk about that. Like I said, Manchester is blue after Manchester City dispatched Man United 3-0 at Old Trafford, and Man United came out of the blocks quite quickly. I thought they started off pretty well, high energy, looking to press Man City, and there was a couple of dispossessions early on. I mean, Vardiol was stuck in the ball, Bruno Fernandes could have won it back, and if it wasn't for a bit of better finishing and defending, United could have gone a goal up. And they had a couple of other breaks throughout it. McTominay looks really good in that kind of advanced 8 role that he was playing. But as the half went on, particularly once it got towards the 15-20 minute mark, City came into control. They looked very comfortable on the ball. They were making a lot of things happen. I thought Jack Grealish had a really good game, kind of drifting out to this left-hand side. And while Diogo Dalot did quite well defending him, it was Grealish's intricate passing. He's the ability for him to flick the ball, and I thought he had a great game doing that. Because you saw the likes of Bernardo Silva, who'd kind of or Julian Alvarez, kind of drop back and kind of burst into the space that left on that kind of half space right between the keeper. And City had a lot of their chances go across the box. Erling Haaland had a few, headers in the first half. If it wasn't for Onana's interventions, they could have gone down sooner. And then, obviously, I think it was about the 35th minute mark, Erling Haaland got a penalty, and it was because of obviously Haaland dragging back Rudgley. And I can agree with Gary Neville in the commentary who said that it was a soft one. I understand that, but it's a penalty. He did drag him back, and the angles that they were showing us before the penalty call were poor, and they kind of backed up Neville's theory. But there was another one where it was kind of side on, and it kind of showed clearly that he was being dragged back. Fairness, Haaland dispatched it, and it kind of was like that for the rest of the game where City kept control. He didn't really press much, didn't do much more, and while Mason Mount added a bit of energy into the midfield, they lost that defensive acumen that Amrabat had. They were obviously wanting to go for it, but Man City kept it in control, and again they had a lot of good chances, and probably Haaland could have done a bit better, but ultimately they just they dispatched them. And United didn't look to shelve and form themselves. I don't think they played particularly badly, but it's just the Man City just made them look chummy, if that makes sense. They just didn't kind of get out of second gear once they went to goal up, and the goals that they scored were just good works of play. Phil Foden was very energetic going down the left hand side, and like they just Man City kept them pushed up, and I find it very difficult. Like I thought Grealish probably was the best in the best player, but I think Onana has shown that he's a capable goalkeeper. He did really well on a few occasions. I think it was a save in the first half where he could have probably got his hand speed a bit quicker, but he did well to recover from stop Haaland from getting a tap in. Erling Haaland had a really good movement, but again his finishing could have been up a bit better. I thought Ruben Dias did really well, kind of preventing Haaland from turning him as much as you kind of would expect. And Rashford again was very disappointing to me. Like he just seemed to struggle to get into it, and I think Kyle Walker just kept him quiet throughout the entire game. Bruno Fernandes on the right hand side, it doesn't suit him, but that's kind of how Ten Hag has decided to utilise him. And unfortunately, the likes of Garnacho and Mount and Reguilon didn't really do anything, or even the likes of Martial or Anthony, who was very petulant, in the game, especially when Jeremy Doku came on. He needs to work on his attitude, and with I presume the ongoing investigation with him is definitely playing on his mind. But again, you think with someone who Ten Hag has kind of put so much trust in, they do a bit better and kind of keep his cool. But the last 10 minutes were not exciting. They just were a bit petulant from United, but that just kind of happens. And Man City deserved this win. Just full credit to them, really good game, and again they look comfortable. And as you can tell with this foot mob, like they were all ranked very highly. So yeah, that's it for this Manchester derby. Unfortunately, United couldn't get it done at home, but let's jump into the rest of the games. So let's run through the rest of the games. Friday night saw Tottenham beat Crystal Palace 2-1 at Selhurst Park, and while Tottenham had a couple of shaky moments, they recovered very well and they were comfortably the better team, especially going forward. I mean, Palace looked a bit kind of toothless going forward, but they had a couple of good chances. Vicaria was called upon, but overall Tottenham deserved it, and they keep this unbeaten streak going. And we've seen the likes of Son, Maddison, Richarlison is looking like he's developing more down that left hand side, and it's really nice to see it because of how difficult it was for him to kind of get into the side last season. And while he struggled this season, he's doing quite well now, and hopefully he gets more goals and assists this season. Next was a bit of a shock. I thought it'd be Chelsea winning it, but Brentford surprisingly did really well, and they just were really good in transition. They managed to catch Chelsea out for a couple of times. One of the goals was a result of that, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm every time I see a goalkeeper go up for a corner, and while I did know what happened, I didn't watch the match, but when I saw the photos, I always want the goalkeeper to score, no matter what team it is. I just want them to see it. It's because it's such a novelty. Because I remember watching Alisson's goal against West Brom during lockdown, but Chelsea went up last minute, and Brentford caught him on the counter. I just want to say that I encourage you to go and watch the footage, because Robert Sanchez is a flyer running back. He absolutely booked it, and if it wasn't for his challenge falling straight to Mbuemo, he could have gotten it, which was really mad. But anyway, Pochettino, was disappointed with how the game went, and Brentford must be really relieved now they've picked up a win. I think their first or second win in about 7 games. So fair juice to them, fair juice to Thomas Frank, who set them up incredibly well to frustrate Chelsea and prevent them from having any clear-cut chances. As I said earlier, Nketiah with a brilliant hat-trick to beat Sheffield United. The last goal was very good. Absolute brilliant strike. The first 2 goals were really good as well. Obviously, the second one was a good strike, and the first one was a good turn and finish. And it's nice to see that even without Gabriel Jesus, they have a capable striker. And if Jesus is out for an extended period, they have a relatively young forward who will want to prove himself and kind of say to Arteta, you can't drop me, that easily. And this is a good example of it, and obviously to get the 2 goals later on. Next was Bournemouth versus Burnley, and Bournemouth, again, they were caught out for their goal, and it was another set piece issue. And I thought, initially when I saw that pop up on my phone, I thought it's not going to end well. But watching the highlights, Bournemouth definitely were the better side, and again they caught out Burnley's high line. Burnley just seemed to look very, disorganized. They don't know how to defend in a unit, and as a result, Bournemouth, got their equaliser back, and then the second goal was brilliant play by Philip Billing, chipping it over James Trafford and getting a excellent goal. And he's been excellent for them since he joined from Huddersfield, and to have that kind of technical ability, and I think it's the longest strike in the Premier League so far, and just fair dues to him. It's great, and Bournemouth will be really relieved to get a goal, and I think they're out of the relegation zone now. Next is Wolves versus Newcastle, and Newcastle looked a bit shaky when they were kind of put under pressure. Gary O'Neill once again showed that he has really good tactical awareness. While they did concede a couple of goals, one of them again was a mistake from Jose Sa. They definitely fought back, and they had very good individual talent to kind of pressurize. I mean, Hwang Hee-chan's goal to equalize was really good footwork, especially from both him and Totti. Just fair, well done to Wolves for getting a goal back and just making a draw. They say Eddie Howe was disappointed with that. He probably thought this would have been an easier tie, but Wolves are showing under Gary O'Neill that they are a difficult team to break down, and they won't go down a fight. So fair juice to them. Probably a big shock for a lot of people was West Ham versus Everton. Although West Ham did lose in the Europa League this midweek, I still thought they'd have, at home they'd have something to, over Everton. And I think what was really interesting is that Everton broke everything, prevented West Ham from any clear-cut chances. Jarrett Bowen had a couple of shots, but they were quite low chances, to be honest, like low percentage chances. And Everton probably could have gotten a couple more goals from better decisions. I mean, Jack Harrison was really looking to try to prove himself, and he just made, he made a few poor decisions. There's a few instances where he could have laid it off to Decore or Calvert-Lewin, but that's just what happens when you just want to kind of do something for your team. And they got the goal. Brilliant finish by Calvert-Lewin, showed really good footwork and great placement, and they definitely missed that from him. And I think he scored. It's his 50th Premier League goal, and considering how long he's been in the Everton squad, it's nice to see he made that milestone. And hopefully his injuries are going to be behind him, because Everton are going to need him. And with this potential 12-point deduction, they need to accrue as many points as possible. And regarding that situation, they need the fact that Man City are still not being touched, but I think it's probably because it's much easier to deal with one charge as opposed to 115, that they can get this sorted by the end of the year. So hopefully, if there is a punishment, that it isn't that bad. Hopefully, if at worst it's like 3 points and then 3 point suspension, as I think Matt Slater on The Athletic kind of predicts. Then quickly run through Brighton Fulham game. Again, it was kind of a mistake from Brighton to get Fulham back into the game. I think Paulinho was lucky not to have kind of been sent off earlier on for an elbow. I believe Pascal Gross, but I think it was accidental from the replays. Again, Jason Steele passing it out. They kind of didn't. The midfielder wasn't aware, and Paulinho capitalized. Brilliant finish. Brighton obviously had a few chances as well, but combination of good goalkeeping and great defending, especially from Jedi Robinson towards the end of the game to head it off the line, like big plays, and that's what you want. Brighton haven't been in a good streak, and they definitely need to kind of pick up their form. And they do have the Carabao Cup fourth round this weekend. Maybe they can get something from that, and if not, obviously next week. Next was then Villa versus Luton, and Villa once again winning. And while Luton have been struggling, they didn't put up much of a fight. They couldn't handle the amount of pressure that Aston Villa were putting them under. Their high line, because Luton don't have a lot of pace going forward, they couldn't kind of get out of their own box. And Watkins did really well. Diaby, Douglas Luiz, and Kamara were just really good. And John McGinn were really good at kind of keeping that pressure up and just playing it around, just making sure that Luton couldn't get the ball back off them. And while the own goal was disappointing by Aston Villa, that's just what happens when you're dealing with such a physical being like Odebajo. But brilliant from Emery, brilliant from Villa. And last up was Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest, and really sad to hear about what happened with Ruben Diaz's mother and father. And hopefully, as I'm recording this, the mother was released and the father I think he's still in captive, whatever that case is. But hopefully he's safe and it's resolved safely. My heart goes out to him and his family. But if we return to the game, Darwin Núñez started this game and he looked dangerous. Dangerous going forward, using his electric pace. Nottingham Forest backline couldn't handle him. They couldn't handle his speed, they couldn't handle his trickery. And two great goals worked by Liverpool. And then the third one was a counter, just a lump over the top by Dominik Szoboszlai, who has been incredible for them this season. And I'm sad that Matt Turner just misread it completely, didn't kind of account for the bounce. And Salah had an easy finish, in the end to wrap it up for 3 goals. Liverpool are definitely showing that they are really, amped for this, and they could potentially go for the T charge. But it's still very early for them at the moment. And when you see the likes of City and Arsenal, doing as well as they are, and Tottenham, it's hard to imagine that they will be, there towards the end of the season. But right now, they're showing really good, they're just showing that they're a really good candidate. And as I said, Szoboszlai, Jota, Núñez, Salah, these players are all performing, and if they can keep it up and keep their defence performing quite well, who knows where they'll be towards the end of the season. So yeah, that's it for this weekend. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care.